how do we partner with our selected MDR vendor?
Again, we've sort of alluded to some of these pieces before, but really it is a partnership, right? The MDR player does not replace the MSP. Now, there's lots of different ways to do this too, just from a business model, right? Are you white labeling as an example, right? Are you, like with Enable MDR, for example, you're not. You're bringing that in as part of your service offering. So, that's what we're talking about today. So how do you do that? Who's responsible for what? So like I said, what is the division of duty? What kind of calls, flags, and run books do you need in place to say when these certain things occur, when you detect something, when you have to take specific action, here's what we want to be notified of, what we don't want to be notified of. And then also your MDR vendor should have some kind of portal, gateway, or access point to allow the MSP direct insight into what's going on. So for example, with Enable MDR, you can see what's happening, right? What the customer sees is what the SOC sees, is what the MSP sees, and in real time. So you want to be able to do that, again, because of, as I said, that's the reactive side of it. But you also want to be able to run those reports. Like I said, you as the MSP have that opportunity to provide the proactive business insights, to be able to go in and say, look, here's what we see in your environment. Here's the noisiest things. Here's, your top 10 list of Sir-Click-a-lots. And, what do we recommend around these sort of vulnerabilities of ways you can help? So having access to that information, and also for the MDR vendor to understand what their role is, right? To say, look, our job is within this window. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to find these things. We're going to take action on them. We're going to report on it, and we're going to keep you in the loop. And as the MSP, where you're stepping in, right? Where it's about things like I said, configuration, making sure that if there's updates, patching, that those kind of things are done. If there's a proactive upsell or cross-sell, that that's where you step in. The MDR vendor shouldn't be doing any of that kind of stuff, right? They're the ones to provide, as I always say, they're the ones to provide the evidence or the data behind those decisions, but it's always the MSP. It's you're the one that owns the relationship. So I think that's what really needs to be established, rather than the MDR vendor going, oh, hey, if you just bought this extra thing from us, you'd be so much better. And now it's at a cross conflict. And I've also seen a lot of that with MDR versus MSPs, where there's conflict in the channel, where you have direct sales fighting with with channel sales. They're trying to upsell a service or licensing through them versus through the MSP. And that actually kind of often goes back to the philosophical model of MDR. There's two, there was sort of an evolutionary split way back, right? One branch was we will have a proprietary stack, right? We're going to take that best in breed. We're going to buy the best of, endpoint and firewalls and cloud, and we're going to put all that together, and that's all we monitor. You have to have that, otherwise we can't help you. And then you have the other agnostic kind of approach, which is the Enable MDR approach, which is we support all these different things, right? We support these different endpoints and firewalls and operating systems and cloud-based services, et cetera. And so really then it's about pulling that together to protect it. And the reason that's important, like I said, is if you've kind of got that proprietary model, well, then the problem is you're always going to be in a bit of a competitive position, because that MDR vendor is getting money for reselling those licenses, whether they're Microsoft Defender, like E3 licenses, whether they're CrowdStrike or SentinelOne or whatever. And then that becomes, like I said, that's going to create channel confusion. And those SOC operators, they don't know. They're not necessarily going to know. So they're going to be like, hey, if you had this endpoint or you upgraded to this other service, this would have helped in this situation. So they write that in a report that goes to a customer. And then, you're in this, like I said, you're in this indirect competition. And we don't want that, right? You really do want harmony between all three parties, because I look at it from a customer perspective. One, I don't want two sales calls. That's just going to annoy me. But more importantly, I don't want two different people that I trust implicitly telling me different things, right? I want a single source of truth, and I want one voice. And that one voice is the MSP.
Yeah. I want to go back to something you mentioned earlier about this being a true partnership, right? And we've obviously had a very clear focus on what partners should be asking when it comes to MDR. But I also want to just highlight a couple things when you're looking at a vendor. It's for most of the MSPs and I get to speak with, this MDR service is completely new to them, right? So they're sort of jumping into this, and they already have built contracts, and they already have pricing, and they've already increased prices. So delivering a new service to the market can be challenging and daunting in some cases. So what I'm trying to get at is you want to make sure you partner with an organization that, one, understands your business, two, understands where you're headed, and can help you, right? Give you options in terms of, how do I go to my customers today with this service? Because we know, right, they need it. We want it. We want to deliver it to them to increase the cyber resiliency within our customer base. So truly having that partnership and understanding of how we can help our partners go to market with these new services and what types of resources that we can provide to them.